We did the Indigenous feminist theory. So what is Indigenous feminist theory? The Indigenous feminism is an intersectional theory and practice of feminism that focuses on decolonization, Indigenous sovereignty, and human rights for Indigenous women and their families. The focus is upon Indigenous women being empowered in the context of Indigenous culture, cultural values, and priorities, rather than mainstream white patriarchal ones, and the movement started in the early 1970s.
Why is Indigenous feminism important? Indigenous feminism is extremely important due to the fact that it fights for an extremely underrepresented group, Native American women. This is important because throughout North America, we can still see large amounts of discrimination and underrepresentation for Native American groups. Most government offices also turn a blind eye to the needs of Native American groups.
So this is a web showing words and concepts commonly associated with Indigenous feminism. So you can see that poverty, trauma, oppression, homophobia, resistance are all part of this web.
Important figures. Elizabeth Cook Lynn is a member of the Crow Creek Sioux tribe and prominent author who fights for tribal sovereignty and other Native American politics. Lee Miracle is an author who highlights the many issues facing Native American women, but also the treatment of all Native Americans as a whole in Canada. Cheryl Suzak is a member of the Batchewana First Nation and professor of English and Aboriginal Studies at the University of Toronto.
Indigenous feminism to R. Ada Hernandez Castillo, who is a social anthropologist and an active feminist. She's a senior researcher at the Center for Research and Advanced Social Studies in Social Anthropology in Mexico City. And a quote from her is, "Indigenous feminism is to me part of a principle. Women develop and make revolution to construct ourselves as independent persons who become a community that can give to others without forgetting about themselves. The philosophical principles that I would recover from my culture are equality, complementary between men and women, and between men and women and women." Intersectional feminist theory is the examination of various ways in which people are oppressed based on the relational web of dominating factors of race, sex, class, nation, and sexual orientation. A common example of intersectional feminism is African American women. Intersectional feminist theory and Indigenous feminism are both theories that are inclusive and understanding of cultural, racial, religious differences. Both take into account the struggles and privileges that come with different identities and factors, but Indigenous feminism is more specific than intersectional feminist theory as it is centered around Native American women.